you shoot Greedo first, or did Greedo shoot you first?
I don't care.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom coming up next. Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenet. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. And today that is Tommy completing the Kiki Kwan filmography on the podcast here with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yeah, I mean, before we start this podcast, I haven't seen any of He Kwan's movies. Now we covered the big three. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once,
The Goonies.
The Goonies, and now this. So, I mean, who would have thought when you're watching Indiana Jones that, like, if you told someone in the 80s, like, hey, first is going to win an Oscar from this movie is Ke Kwan. And you're like, what?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, it's funny. You're like looking at and like you have one of the most iconic actors of all time in
Harrison
this movie,
Ford.
Harrison Ford, and it's like guy hasn't sniffed an Oscar, and then the short round Academy Award winner.
Harrison Ford was nominated, but it's nowhere close. He's never going to get one at this point, unless Dial of Destiny gives like the most magnificent performance we've ever seen in our life.
You know what? We were actually discussing Dial of Destiny before. I haven't seen it yet. It got terrible reviews. They debuted it at Cannes, which was a terrible decision. I don't think it's going to be very good. I'm going to go see it because I love myself an Indiana Jones movie. Now, Tommy, I believe I was there with you because like Indiana Jones escaped your childhood completely. Like I remember we watched it in somebody's basement. We watched Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
We tried to watch Last Crusade, and you guys watched it. I passed out in 10 minutes.
No. This was at the Isles basement.
Oh.
In the movie theater.
Yeah, no. We did watch that then. That was my second time watching the movie. The first time watching the movie was probably in like 2014.
Okay.
First Indiana Jones movie, I'm probably gonna get shot for saying this, was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I saw in theaters.
To be fair, that came out when you were in like middle school, high school. Like that came out.
That's when you go to see every movie back then. It's like just what you do. And 15 years later, not much has changed in my life. So just see whatever's playing in theaters. But Dial of Destiny right now, I mean, like I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes. It's a 56%, which is kind of rough. I mean, I don't know. I had some hopes for it because James Mangold's a good director. I mean, Logan was fucking amazing, and like Ford v Ferrari, he's made good movies before, but it's just like you don't need to keep on bringing up these franchises, I guess. But that means, yeah.
Well, I think we'll do a review. We'll do a bonus review of Dial of Destiny in July, probably before North by Northwest. Yeah. We'll discuss that in further detail. It's hard for me to say what it is. From what I can assume, I'm assuming that they're going to just not handle Indiana Jones gracefully and try to like. My biggest concern is they're going to be like, well, you shouldn't have done the things that you did, Indiana Jones. And it's like, I mean, the basis of the character is that he's literally a cartoon character. Like that's the whole fun of the series. And like, I feel like they're going to try to intertwine politics into it, and that's going to be annoying. But I have to hold all reservations and judgment until I actually see the movie.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, like, I don't know. I remember 8th grade me liked Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so I haven't revisited it since. But, I think at the very least, this will be an entertaining movie. I mean, this is not a franchise that's been born in my bones right now. Like we said, we're covering Temple of Doom for the first time, which was considered a black sheep of the original trilogy, but yet I still thought this was a great movie. Spoiler alert. But
and we'll dive more into why it's considered the black sheep of the original trilogy, which I actually think is a testament. It's in retrospect, it's much more of a testament to the flexibility of the character Indiana Jones. I think that you could have just this movie proved that you could have thrown him into any situation, anywhere, and it would have been fun. Like it didn't just have to be Nazis.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Last Crusade, like I think we're gonna cover that eventually.
Yeah.
But because Tommy has also not seen Last Crusade.
Though I tried to watch that 2 or 3 times and fell asleep every time. But
that's just what happens to you. You just try to watch a movie and you fall asleep. You try to start a movie after 7 o'clock and it's like bed, night.
Yeah, slightly better, like past like 9 p.m. But anyways, yeah. So Timmy, have you watched anything good this past week?
So speaking of Indiana Jones, Fathom Events had a limited release of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark in theaters, and I went and I saw it, and it was amazing. One of those, because it's one of those movies I've seen a dozen times, and I had never seen it in theaters before.
Yeah.
And just getting to that like theatrical experience of it's just magical. It's just such a magical movie, and I'll talk more about it because I do have a thing I want to say about Raiders in terms of me and learning how to watch and appreciate film. I think we'll talk about that further, but quickly, yes, that's what I saw this week. I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, and now I went right back into Temple of Doom, baby.
So are you going straight into Last Crusade now after this? Are you gonna watch them all before?
Maybe I would try Crystal Kingdom again. I haven't seen that since it came out.
Yeah, I think that's one of those movies that like the internet kind of overhated, and it's like, whatever.
Well, it definitely had that prequel syndrome, like Star Wars prequel syndrome of just being like it wasn't the movie from the 80s, anymore. Since Spielberg directed this, I'm assuming it's significantly better than the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah,
again, low bar, but
that's saying much.
But maybe I'll dive through the rest of them. We'll touch in, do a little ratings on them. But Tommy, what about you? Did you go and see anything fun?
I haven't had much movie experiences in the past week since we talked, but when I was at a wedding over the weekend, I was in the wedding party, and the way we decided to get ready for the wedding party was Bad Boys 2 was on television and on USA. And we came in just as it started. And first time seeing Bad Boys 2 in a while. And it felt like the perfect movie to get ready to for a wedding. Bunch of dudes just drinking, like having a couple of drinks and stuff like that, getting ready for a wedding, dressing up and stuff like that, just watching Bad Boys 2. Like, oh, they're in Cuba right now, attacking shit. Fuck yeah, let's go right here. Just over and over and over again. It's the testosterone type of movie you need right before you go get your friend married.
I also love that it was Bad Boys 2 on cable too. like it's even better because it's just like we're at this venue, like we don't have the street, like we can't go and spend an hour picking whatever we want to put on. It's just like they Bad Boys 2. Oh, all right.
Well, is it a random hotel room? Because we're getting rid of a random hotel room, and I'm pretty sure the photographer took pictures of Bad Boys 2 on the TV screen.
Hell yeah! No, that is the perfect like if you like in college you're getting ready to go out to a party or bar or whatever, and you just need something mindless and just like hype up like for the boys, like you're gonna throw on Bad Boys 2.
It's a great pregame movie, so I'll say that much.
Yeah, so we're gonna go from Bad Boys 2 into the bad boy of India. This is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
In the name of science,
You know how to fly, don't you?
you'll go anywhere.
No. Do you?
In the name of excitement, you'll try anything.
Step on it.
Because if adventure has a name, it must be Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
In the West End and all over London now.
I only found a UK trailer for it on YouTube, so
I guess it's in the spirit of Indiana Jones one it's based off of, but that really felt like a trailer from like the 1930s, which I guess was what they're going for right there.
Well, it was a UK trailer, it wasn't a US trailer. I imagine the US trailer felt very 1980s US trailer at the time. But yeah, so Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, this is often considered the black sheep of the Indiana Jones franchise, and we were hinting on that before.
Yeah, at least of the original trilogy. Yeah.
Of the original trilogy, yeah. Now I think there's going to be a new Black Sheep in a couple of weeks. Just personal prediction, based on the only 5-minute applause at cons, which is like the standard, which is just like you failed. Oh my god, I have to stand here.
You made a movie. Congrats.
Can I talk about a tradition that needs to die?
What, clapping?
The applause at cons needs to die. It needs to go away. Like,
is it cons or cans?
It's cons. Cons.
That's cans.
Cons. Yeah, of course you did. And I can't think of a more out of touch thing to do than be like, I love this movie, so I'm going to applaud it for 14 minutes. And this is the barometer for how good the movie is how long I applaud it. I can't think of anything more dated. I can't think of anything that needs to die more.
I think it's a little bit different specifically for fuck cons. Now you got me tripped up right there. But cons, like, I mean, it's different because like the filmmakers are actually there compared to like, when you go see the Avengers movie on a Friday night and then some like dude just break out into applause because Iron Man's on screen.
Oh yeah. That I don't get. No, I was talking about like they need to like I feel like
a better rating system.
Well, I feel like Hollywood, people in Hollywood the last 15 years have just become like absurdly out of touch, and the fact that like the way the internet connects us to them, it's just highlighted that more. And it's like, I don't know, like okay, you did not like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Like the reviews were scathing out of cons. Like it was bad, but we still had to give it a 5-minute applause because the people were like, just get rid of the applause system. It's time for it to go. Just my 2 cents.
Just do nothing instead. Just
listen, Tommy. I had this thought like literally as I was starting my sentence, so just let me have it, okay?
All right, I'm not gonna follow up on this. Right?
Yeah. Oh, this is I have some very strong opinions. This is not one of them. This was just more of a like, I think it's time for it to die. It's like The Last Jedi. It's time for the Jedi to die. It's time for the applause at con to die.
So that's what we need to get rid of next. So bring back to Temple of Doom. I mean, like, first of all, my first question, I knew this going in, but there felt like there was no need to make this a prequel whatsoever. Apparently, like, the reason that George Lucas wanted to make it a prequel was so the Nazis weren't a villain again, but it's just like, you could have it to be the same movie, just have it take place during World War II, and he's not somewhere in Europe or Germany or whatever, and it could be the same exact thing. He's just like in India, and this is what happens. There's no reason for us to make it a prequel, and it's one of those weird things where, this is a prequel, it's not like your typical prequel where it just like shows you the nods of like how he got the hat or some bullshit or anything like that. It just feels just like another adventure.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Which is one of Steven Spielberg's greatest transitions of all time. But part of it is because these are based off 1930s. Like the whole Indiana Jones series is based off of the adventure serials that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas grew up on, where they could just take place at any time, any point. Like they were, because like when people in the 1930s and 40s were writing this stuff, like they didn't care about order. It was just like, I have a project I have to make, and we have to get this done in X amount of time. So it'll just go from Berlin 1937 to Shanghai 1935. So that was, I think, the spirit of it. And I think the greatest strength of this movie it does show the flexibility of Indiana Jones as a character, in terms of like, they could have made like 8 of these in the 80s. Like they could have made these throughout the 80s
Pumped
and 90s.
them out.
Like just popped them out like a factory, and they would have been fun.
I mean, in many ways, he's kind of like the American James Bond, where this sets up a formula right here. Like, they wanted him. They were thinking of having Karen Allen return from the first movie, but they're like, why don't we just make it a new girl? Just make it kind of like Bond. Like there's a new girl in every movie. Very similar capabilities where you can just have them be all over the place. It's shocking. There's only been we're only coming up in the 5th movie in this franchise.
Well, I think part of it is that when I think of James Bond, and obviously it's different, 1960, Bond is like the first like modern franchise. Like there were franchise, like Spencer Tracy had franchises, but they were like corny comedies and just pop them out a dime a dozen. Bond is the first like true modern franchise that's still like running today. This is different than Bond. I think Indiana Jones has a lot. Indiana Jones isn't the greatest character in the world, right? Like he is the amalgamation of what every male wants to be. I said the greatest strength of Indiana Jones as a character is that every man wants to be Indiana Jones. It's an undisputed fact of life that if you are a man, you want to be Indiana Jones. Like 99% of us would die trying.
Yeah.
But we all want to be Indiana Jones. Like that was
we all had our cringy fedora phase.
You can speak for yourself on the fedora phase.
You bought me a fedora and you try to make me wear it. You try to make it force that face.
Oh, that's right. We did try to make you a fedora guy. Yeah. You rocked it.
I wore it like for like a week just to humor you guys and be like, I got the fedora.
To be fair, that was more of a Brian Connors move than me, but I was all for it. Maybe should we? Okay, we're gonna put a Twitter poll out. Does Tommy bring back the fedora?
I don't even know where it is. I don't even think I have.
Well, Tommy, we would buy you just a new fedora. I would assume you don't have the fedora from 13 years ago, just like sitting handy in your apartment.
Casually in my closet.
That's gonna be the shot, and then Dial of Destiny. It's like, well, Indiana Jones, we need you back for this adventure, and then it's just like the camera. He's like sitting in his bedroom or whatever, and the camera pans over, and you're just gonna see like the hat just sitting there, like collecting dust, and then just like the hand, and he puts the hat down, and then he picks his head up, and he's gonna be in some adventure, right? Like that's a Spielberg transition shot.
Does the hat? I'm just imagining like the hat starts talking to him, like, "Oh, we're going on one more adventure, Indy." Is this it? Just
okay, stop talking. And then for and then for you, it's just sitting there collecting dust, and then it just picks up like your head down, and then you just pick up, and you have a neck beard, and you're sitting at a movie theater, and then you're watching a Marvel movie, and somebody gets up before the post-credit scene, and you're like, "Sit back down, son." And then that's the.
And I angrily read on Twitter about it.
Yeah, you angrily read on Twitter about it. Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
We got it right there.
So yeah, this is the black sheep because he didn't fight Nazis in this one. Essentially, that was where my sentence started. You know that Michael Scott quote where it's like, sometimes I start a sentence and
don't even know where it goes.
I don't even know where it goes. That was the last 7 minutes of this episode of the podcast.
Welcome to Podcasting 101 right here. We just go for the ride right here. Improv 101.
Should we talk about the movie now? We probably should.
Well, we touched upon it. I mean, like, you know, overall, I mean, I did think this was really fun. I mean, I've only seen 3 movies on this franchise. The only one I haven't seen is Last Crusade at this point. But Temple of Doom, just really, I enjoyed the callbacks they had to Raiders. It didn't feel like too egregious or like, you know, too hand-holding or something like that. You know, in the scene where like on the bridge where he's about to face the 2 guys with the swords and he looks for his gun like in the first movie, and he realizes like, oh shit. That was
a cute wink nod to the audience of like, hey, remember that awesome moment? Yeah, you can't do it this time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Spielberg himself said, like, you know, in terms of like building a sequel, that like, you know, there's so much danger in sequels. He said, the danger of making a sequel is they can never satisfy everyone. You give people the same movie with different scenes, they say, why aren't you more original? But if you give them the same character and another fantastic adventure but with a different tone, you risk disappointing the other half of the audience who just want a carbon copy of the first film with a different girl and a different bad guy, so you win and lose in both ways, which really just calculates this movie. This movie is a darker tone in general than you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's not as a fun swashbuckling adventure. This has like, you know, tons of gore, tons of like horror scenes. You know, our friend Dowling, when we were talking about it, we're covering this movie, he was like, yeah, this movie scared the fuck out of me when I was a little kid. Like I couldn't watch it for a while. You know, he probably didn't have the same sentiment about Raiders of the Lost Ark right there, because, you know, that's just more of a fun serial adventure movie. Well, this has elements of that. It's overall, you know, imagine you're 8 years old, you just saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's one of your favorite movies of all time. You go to see Temple of Doom and you watch a guy's heart get ripped out. It probably traumatizes you.
Yeah, I look at so it's very interesting that you mentioned tone, because if I had to point out this movie's weakness, I would say it was tonal imbalance, especially at the beginning, like the opening, the Shanghai scene. Like comparatively to Raiders is a perfect opening where you're, and granted, different situation, like you're being introduced to Indiana Jones, you need to understand his essence like that.
Mm.
So you kind of start off with this goofy like scene where he gets poisoned and he's chasing the antidote over the floor. Like it is over the top, like camp, pure camp.
Mm.
And then you're introduced to Short Round, who's pushing the car with the bricks on the floor, which is great. It's funny. You have Willie, who talk about a weak point in the movie, but she's there, and then they have the most unrealistic thing of them escaping the plane, and then they go to the Indian village, and the tone just shifts like that. And then they're going towards the palace, and then the elephant's throwing Willie off the thing. And I was like, this is like, I felt like the first 20 minutes of this movie, like it felt like they filmed a lot of stuff to make this more of a family movie for the box office draw, and like having like Short Round in this, who I like Short Round a lot. It's not a criticism of Short Round. It felt like they were trying to incorporate elements of like a family wholesome adventure into like a really dark story.
Yeah, I definitely felt like it was just like they didn't want to fully commit to the dark story right here at all. Apparently, this movie, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, they wanted us to make a darker movie, like how Empire Strikes Back was a darker Star Wars movie, but ended up being a lot darker than both of them either intended, because at the time both of them were going through like breakups, and just like this is their breakup movie essentially, Spielberg and Lucas. And Spielberg agreed with like the darker side of things and stuff like that, but he felt uncomfortable with how certain scenes played out. So like while filming them, he tried to inject like humorous moments. That's why in a fight scene you see like a guy throw up a hammer, and then the hammer like hits the guy Looney Tune style in the head, some other dude, like very slapsticky, which just is a tonal whiplash right there. It's just like, all right, are you trying to be a humorous movie or are you trying to be a dark movie? Like which one? Come on.
Yeah,
like,
that and it like bleeds throughout them. I felt like it was more prevalent in the beginning, but during like the action and stuff, it just felt more slapstickish, especially comparative to Raiders and Last Crusade. So it's this weird tonal whiplash, and it Spielberg is such a good director that he makes it work. Like if this was in a lesser director's hands, this movie would have fallen apart completely, because it doesn't dwell on like the tonal shifts. It just like does it. Like you just feel when you go like, okay, like we're in a serious scene now. Oh, we're in a lighter moment now. But it's still tonal whiplash. But when I think, and I think why this is another reason why this is considered the black sheep compared to Raiders and to Last Crusade, is that tonal whiplash. I think that's part of it. I don't think people will articulate that as well, but I do think that's part of it.
Yeah, I think that Raiders especially, I mean, there's some scenes, obviously there's violent scenes in that, but not to the extent of this. And it doesn't feel dark. It just feels like a fun, zippy, zany adventure right there. And Spielberg himself said that he like wasn't happy with Temple du Bonal because it goes too dark and too horrific. He thought that he like out poltergeist and just like how scary it was, and just like way too much.
Well, so and then there was a big controversy with the cuisine scene.
It doesn't age the best sometimes, because I think originally it was supposed to be like, oh, these Indian people are showing how stupid this white woman is, but then it's just more so just like, oh, look at how terrible our culture is.
So I'm looking, so right here, so this film did not get a theatrical release in India. India censors caught it and said absolutely not. This is a very negative depiction of it, not a valid portrayal of India. Where it's just like, oh, they eat monkey brains, and that is fair. But the actor who played Chaturlal mentioned that the banquet scene was a joke that went wrong, saying Stephen intended it as a joke. The joke being the Indians were so smart that they knew all Westerners would think that Indians eat cockroaches, so they served them what they expected. The joke was too subtle for that film, which I just based off of Spielberg's like filmography. And like for a guy that was, coming up in the 70s, when there are films that don't age the best in terms of cultural sensitivities, it's never felt like Spielberg's movies have really felt like that. And I could imagine that was just like, oh, that'll be fun, that'll be funny. And then you film it and you're like, oh, that was great. Yeah, and then you put it into the movie and you're like, oh, this doesn't come because it just didn't have enough of a comedic tone.
Yeah, it just felt a little tone whiplash, and like the whole entire character of like that Kate Capshaw plays is just Willie is just awful. I mean, like we're talking about tone whiplash, where like there's all these scary scenes and stuff like that, and then there's her character just like essentially like horrifically screaming and stuff like that. Kate Capshaw hated her character, and I can't blame her because like she said that like her own character Willie was nothing more than like a dumb screaming blonde, which she's not wrong. I mean, like that's really all our characters there for, to interject some humor in ways that just it feels like very forced and unnatural. I mean, you take her character out of this movie, I feel like it'd be better. I mean, Short Round is also a comedic character, but that works a lot more in the flow of the story and the flow of the movie, I feel like.
Ke Huy Quan as a child, like great child performance in this movie. Like he, it felt like, and I think Spielberg, and going back to like E.T. and stuff like that, when he has kids in his movies, he's always very good with them. Like he always gets very good performances out of them. So it's not surprising to see. But it was, I think the chemistry of Harrison Ford and Ke Huy Quan, where it was like, oh, it felt like they were actually friends, where Harrison Ford doesn't exactly have the best reputation of easiest guy in the world to work with.
Yeah. He's usually a grunt from what it seems like. But I mean, that being said, there were some scenes. I did like the little scene of Kate Capshaw and Harrison Ford where like they're like saying like 5 minutes from now, this is what we're gonna do. I felt it was a really good way to build up romantic tension, but that was the only time I really liked her throughout that movie.
Oh, really? That was my like least favorite scene of them in the movie. That was when that was like they handed George Lucas the script and said, "You got to write the romance scene, George," and that was what.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was cute right there, but because it just felt like a very playful way.
And I think we're just talking about it because the tonal whiplash, and I don't mean this as a negative, because ultimately this movie is so much fun.
Yeah,
like the last hour and a half of this movie is so much fun to watch.
I mean, that's the thing about it. Like, despite like our criticisms, Spielberg still makes this an engaging movie, and to the point that like these are like criticisms and like nitpicks and stuff like that, but it doesn't.
Well, really I don't think the tonal whiplash is a nitpick. I would say it's a very valid criticism of the movie.
Yeah,
personally,
well, I said criticisms and nitpicks.
Yeah. No, see, my definition of a nitpick is like, well, in scene 343, the arm was up here, and then the cut came over, and it was like this, and you have somebody breathing heavily into a microphone, and you're just like, please stop, please, for the love of God, please stop. That's a nitpick in my definition of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The more so just breaking down just like pedantic shit where it's like whatever. So it's funny though with Kate Capshaw, she appeared on the Tonight Show of Johnny Carson to go promote this movie in '84, and right after her interview, Siskel and Ebert were on the show, and they're talking about like the recent films that are playing, and they're talking about Temple of Doom, and they were like slamming her performance, being like, "Oh, it's wimpy and whiny. She's terrible in this movie. She's awful." And Capshaw's like right there on the couch right next to him, being like, "Hey guys, please don't talk about me like I'm not here. I am here." Like just say no, guys.
I don't think it's fair to her. I think she does the best she can with what she's given. I think it was just like, because like even from the inception of the character, she likes diamonds, and then she picks up Indiana Jones's antidote because he was holding her by fork, and then he basically kidnaps her and takes her on this whole adventure, like, which is very baffling, like introduction of these characters, like spending a whole movie together, like compared to like Mary and Ravenwood, where it was like they had a romantic backstory. There was a built-in backstory of like romantic tension in the past.
Yeah, this is very thrown together.
And then the bar scene happens, and it's like, guess what? I'm your damn partner now. And then that's how it all kind of comes together. Where this just felt like, how do we get the three of these characters in a random desert in India? Like that. Like the beginning is goofy, and Dan Aykroyd makes a nice little cameo there.
Yeah. It's cool seeing him pop up right there. I thought the Ke Huy Quan, that his character Short Round was the father of the guy who died in the beginning of the movie, and that's how they're going to set him up or something like that, being like, "Oh, your dad died, but now you need to help me." But then Ke Huy Quan was just in the car the whole time. The movie did not feel the need to explain why he has a child psychic, and neither did they. It was just like, okay,
yes, they did. He tried to pockpicket Indiana Jones. Now he races him, and then he's gone by his next adventure. But
yeah, and a year later, I mean, that's the thing. This is like how quickly just abandoned short run. It's like, oh, fuck you. Like, oh, I love you, Indy. Like, kid, like you're just fucking annoying. Just get out of here.
no, I think I think the problem with Indiana Jones is that it's like this iconic movie franchise, and it's based off a Saturday morning cartoon, where like beginning, middle, end happens, and we move on to the next story. This isn't coming back. Don't worry about it. And I think that's like part of the thing from a contemporary lens to consider, even in that time period, right? Like where franchises are starting to become more and more prevalent, continuing storylines. Like that's not what Indiana Jones was about. It was just like, this is a movie version of a Saturday morning cartoon, and it's going to be done to the 10th degree. It's going to have George Lucas weirdness and one of the greatest directors of all time directing it, and one of the greatest leading men in Hollywood starring in it. And John Williams just knocking it out of the park all the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting though as like a sequel. I mean, like obviously Indiana Jones is the character you remember from Raiders, but it's just interesting that there's not one returning character other than him. Yeah, granted, this is like a year before prequel in like quotation marks, so it barely is.
I wouldn't call it a prequel. I would just call it's a serialized movie series, is what they were attempting to do.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, like, you know, the only other returning actor was like Pat Roach, who like appears like a guy who attacked as a different character in Raiders. So, you know, you'd figure like, you know, there'd be like one guy, like I'm trying to remember like Raiders, like
Marvin who come. You'll see, Tommy. You're saying a lot of criticisms right now that make that they.
I'm not saying criticisms.
No, I'm not saying they're criticisms. I'm saying these were the These were the criticisms of the movie at the time that they make sure to rectify in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
You mean in Last Crusade?
No, Last Crusade. There's a lot of returning characters in Last Crusade. Don't you worry.
Yeah,
we'll get we'll get all our good friends back together.
Yeah. What I do like though is apparently George Lucas, how much of a bullshitter he was. He told Spielberg at the time. He also has a Kermit the Frog, doesn't he? George Lucas.
Yeah, he does.
He's like, Spielberg. I'm trying to do Kermit the Frog. Heidi ho. Oh, George, if you direct, fuck it, I'm gonna drop it. Abandon the bit. But he told Spielberg if he directed the first one, he had to direct a trilogy because George Lucas, I have 3 stories in mind for this Steven Spielberg. And Spielberg was like, yeah, it turned out that he was lying. He didn't have 3 stories in mind. So he had to make up some fucking subsequent stories. He just bullshit completely.
Yeah. And people believe that he like had because now in retrospect, when he talks about Star Wars, he's like, I had this big idea for everything in regards to Star Wars from the episode 1 to episode 6. I had it all written out. And it's like, no, you did not. You didn't even have the second one written out. The best movie in the Star Wars franchise, you had the least amount of involvement in. There's a correlation there, George. But like people, we're not going down this road. I could go for 10 hours.
Yeah. I feel like every episode we somehow get you on a Star Wars tangent.
That's what I
mean, granted, this episode's defensible because we're talking about George Lucas, right?
We are talking about George Lucas, but you know, I think.
But it's just like the ideas he threw around for this movie were apparently garbage. Like he had his first idea for Indiana's sidekick was some virginal young princess, but Spielberg and the other writers were just like, no, like get the fuck out of here with that idea, Lucas. Like, no, are you kidding me? He apparently had an idea that was like, this is going to take place in some haunted Scottish castle. And Spielberg's like, that's too close to Poltergeist. So get out of here, Lucas. We're not using that idea. So I feel like he's just like,
I'll say I feel like Lucas, he should just, on any adventure movie, he should be in the writer's room, and they should just give him like an hour a day in the writer's room to just throw out the weirdest stuff that comes out of that guy's brain. And then just take like if you do that for 2 weeks, you take like the 30 minutes of good that you would get from that.
It's probably like a evolved string of just like every weird idea he has.
Yeah, but but you take his weird idea and you go, that's terrible. And then you build off of it. Because like he can't build off of the bad, weird ideas, but like they are weird and unique stories. And that does have a value. And you just need somebody to actually like refine them. Like, you know, the original Star Wars trilogy. But that's George Lucas's creative strength there. One thing I do want to mention, I had mentioned at the top. So Steven Soderbergh, the director of the Ocean's franchise, Magic Mike, he released in the 2010s online a cut of Raiders of the Lost Ark that is in black and white, and there's no audio. And the whole purpose of the exercise of that is to watch it and say, what is the film actually telling you when you're watching it? And that was one of the first times that I watched a movie like that. And it helped me in terms of my film criticism and just understanding the language of film. I just wanted to shout that out.
That's how it started your journey to starting a podcast.
That's how I ended up here.
That's the first domino that fell.
What a mistake. Oh my, it's like that meme of the little domino, right? Like watches Raiders of the Lost Ark with no sound, has a middling podcast
starts talking about politics in the Indiana Jones movies.
Yes, starts talking. Well, hey, I didn't talk about politics in Indiana Jones movies. They're throwing them in. But I digress. I
am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
Tommy, I have a very serious question for you. Could you even come up with a conceivable argument for anybody else to be the star of this movie than Harrison Ford?
I mean, the only other one would be Short Round right here. I mean, because he makes a very engaging sidekick right there. And I think that he does bring a little lightness to the movie, but in a way that's not egregious. Like what is it? Willie. Steven Spielberg's future wife, still married to this day. But anyways, Short Round, I think Ke Kwan just gave like a really like good heartwarming performance, and like it made it like the kid sidekick in a movie like this could easily be the worst part of this. Just in
a lesser director's hands, this movie is a train wreck.
Yeah, exactly. Just you can just imagine it right now, just like being this annoying, whiny little kid.
But he's not whiny. He's kind of kick ass, and like there's very cute moments I noticed where he was like, Indiana Jones is fighting, and then he's like watching and like imitating it, and then right before the mine cart chase, like Indiana Jones is fighting the guy on the rafter, and then he's fighting the kids, and Spielberg does this great overhead shot of Indiana Jones in the foreground and Short Round in the background, and they're like fighting together from like Willie's perspective. I'm like, yeah, that's a great shot. Like we had been seeing that built out throughout the movie of Ke Kwan like watching Indiana Jones throw his fists around and wanted to do it, and then you get to see them both in parallel, and it's not shoved in your face at all, and it's just there, and it's like one of those like magical little sequences that it has adds nothing to the movie, but it's just like, oh my god. Actually, that's
I mean, like I think that was just like a great part of just like how like in the Thuggy Chief scene, what I think is what you're talking about, like where he's fighting him on like the conveyor belt.
Yeah, how
all three of them, Winnie to a lesser extent, or Willie to a lesser extent, and Short Round, are involved in the fight, and they're still captivating right here. It's not just Indiana Jones doing this on his own. He probably wouldn't have made it out without Short Round, for all we know.
He would have been possessed by the devil's blood.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that all being said, yeah, Harrison Ford's the star of this movie, of course.
Yeah, it's Harrison Ford. I mean, it's like that hat fits him like a glove. I truly believe that he would not have done Dial of Destiny if he did not actually love the character of Indiana Jones. Like, I don't think he likes Han Solo, as evidenced by our introduction to this, but I do think he loves Indiana Jones. I think if there's one thing I want to be remembered for, it's going to be that character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Tommy, would Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom work as a Muppet adaptation?
I think that there could be a case for it. I mean, like the Kali Ma scene ripping out the heart and just fucking just
it would be so fun. It would be so fun.
It'd be so felt everywhere. Like, I googled right now Muppet Indiana Jones, and it was a thing. I remember this. Those are the Muppet Babies where like Kermit would like be have fantasies where he's dressed up as like Indiana Jones, like the whole get up and the whole fedora and like vest and everything like that, and the lasso, and like he'd be like And there's literally images you can search on Google right now. Kermit as Muppet Indiana Jones, and they did that for a little bit. But to go full tilt in it would be great.
Yeah, a full one would be, it'd probably be better than Dial of Destiny, but we haven't seen it yet, so we don't know for sure. But I think it would be fun. Like, I think it would kind of work. Like, I don't know, because it's like Indiana Jones is just at its core does have this fantastical feeling to it that just like, this is all kind of unrealistic nonsense, but it's so much fun and it's somehow grounded realistically somewhat. Even though you're just watching a fantasy story. So like, why not? I mean, in terms of movies that we've covered where we go, would Disney actually ever touch it? They probably would touch Indiana Jones Muppets. Like, they probably would do that.
Yeah, I mean, we already have the case basis, or I'm really looking at a picture right now of Kermit dressed as fucking Indiana Jones. It would be great, and we could use more of that. That's all you did. Kermit's Indiana Jones. Obviously, if you're in Temple of Doom, then Piggy is great for fucking Willie because she's just as annoying. And then Ki Kwan is probably human.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. All right, Tommy, review time. Give me your score out of 5.
So out of 5. So, this is my third Indiana Jones movie, but I did really like this. I thought there was, despite all the things we talked about, the tonal whiplashes and stuff like that, it still overall really worked and just a great ball of fun. I mean, great performances by Harrison Ford. Willie I could do without, but whatever. Short Round was fun, and this movie I could definitely see rewatching. I like the darker tone overall. I'm gonna give this 4 out of 5.
I'm also gonna give this 4 out of 5. Wow, we're just really in sync today, Tommy. Yeah, we discussed enough about like the tonal whiplash of this movie. I think it takes away from that beginning, which is so crucial, like suck you in, where you're kind of like, like the first 20 minutes, you're like, what am I watching here? And then from there, like one after the dinner scene, this movie just goes on, goes perfectly. It's so much fun. And you're all in you're in one location, and you just see so many different levels of it. And it ends with a minecart chase, and then Indiana Jones fighting a guy on a bridge that's dangling off the side of a cliff. Like, perfect action movie in that sense. But the tonal whiplash definitely brings this down a little bit in my book. But 4 to 5, highly recommend it. And if you haven't seen Temple of Doom, you should see it. If you're like, it's not the one for me, watch it. It's fun. Yeah. So Tommy, any final thoughts?
So I want to touch briefly upon the critical reception of this movie at the time, which was very mixed. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars, and then we had this review from People magazine, which is so just alarmist. So it's Ralph Novak of People who complained that the ads say this film might be too intense for younger children or fraudulent. No parent should allow a young child to see this traumatizing movie. It'd be a cinematic form of child abuse. Even Harrison Ford is required to slap Quan and abuse Capshaw. There are no heroes connected with the film, only 2 villains. Their names are Steven Spielberg and George Lucas.
That's a sick review. That's a sick review.
Yeah, what a fucking burn right there. Like, these are the villains right here. Fuck these guys. All right, Jesus. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow us on social media at Seen It Pod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And leave us a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast really helps us out. And we're gearing up. We're having Upstairs Steve come back on the podcast next week. And we're going to be covering Good Will Hunting. So I've never seen it. First time. It's not my fault.
I feel like I feel like I asked you this when we started the podcast in terms of like, what are big movies you haven't seen, Tommy? And I feel like you told me you saw this because I would have covered this earlier, to be completely honest with you. I love Good Will Hunting.
It's not your fault.
No, but it is yours.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is some preview of the episode next week. So get ready.
It's literally just going to be me, Tommy, just being like, it's not my fault. Like, that's going to be the only joke he makes, and then Steve and I just roasting him for an hour. So tune in for that. That'll be fun. Thank you guys all so much for listening this week. We'll see you next week.